Irish guy, and is it horrible? I mean, part of me thinks yes, but part of me thinks no. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to Chelsea. Trying to digest this story, it feels like if I'm down the zoo after hours and trying to eat rancid hippo meat. I mean, what is this? Honestly, what is this? This time last year you were signing Lukaku. I mean, are we suddenly now gonna have troops pitching up a tent in the Chelsea car park, ready to beg his best mate for a selfie? I mean, remember that Misery film with Kathy Bates? I mean, don't be surprised if within 6 months, Aubameyang goes missing and we find him locked in Troops' basement with him just squatting over his face and chanting, Obama who? Obama what? Obama blood client! You know, until the blood vessels burst in his face. But PEA to Chelsea. Lads, I mean, remember in Lord of the Rings when Gollum keeps arguing with himself? I mean, that's gonna be me in this video because right now, I'm conflicted. My brain just feels like it's been cooked in an oven because honestly, I feel like in this video, I am just going to be arguing with myself. Honestly, right now, it's more noisy in my head than if those 7 dwarves were fighting over which one gets to make breakfast for Snow White. I mean, I'm guessing Dopey would wind up pissing in the milk. But this transfer, I can't make up my mind if this is good or not. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I mean, this is the day that he apparently gets exposed in the Amazon documentary for being about as professional as Miley Cyrus on tour. I mean, I don't actually know, I'm just guessing here. I mean, she looks like the type of person who'd probably get drunk on stage and maybe leave a poo in the minibar on the tour bus. But let's honestly, turn on Amazon Prime, and yeah, you'll probably see Mikel Arteta look like tearing his own hair out because Aubameyang was always late. But then again, are we really surprised that someone who owns cars that look like UFOs, someone who probably wears £10,000 designer boxer shorts, and who probably drinks caviar for tea, are we surprised that he plays by his own rules? I mean, good Christ, what do you expect? You can't spell Emmerich or Aubameyang without the word me. I mean, honestly, look, he's got that word inserted in his own name twice. I mean, you can't expect him not to be selfish after that, to not have the self-centered ego of David Beckham's kids. And so, Chelsea want to sign one of Arsenal's misfits, replacing one chunk of toxic sludge for another one. I mean, it makes no sense, right? Surely it's like divorcing Katie Hopkins to then go and ask out Vardy's wife. I mean, good Christ, remember Lukaku never wanted to leave Inter Milan? And by the sounds of things, Aubameyang would sooner bite off a pig's face than give up his comfy Barcelona job. I mean, this man whose entire life goal it was to join Real Madrid. I mean, that was the promise he made his granddad. I mean, I know he had to settle for Barcelona instead. But still, do you reckon he's ready to give up on his Spanish dream after just 6 months? I mean, right now, he's amongst friends. I mean, this guy is his Borussia Dortmund mate and Ousmane Dembele. I mean, the two of them probably spend their afternoons going shoe shopping and playing Wii tennis on the GameCube. I mean, he is 33. He probably still plays Tomb Raider on the PS1. But, I mean, go to Chelsea, and who there do you already know? Chris Pulisic? I mean, does anyone reckon these two are mates? But I mean, why doesn't nobody rate Memphis Depay? Why don't Chelsea want to buy him instead? I mean, nobody seems to rate this guy anymore. I mean, surely he failed in the Premier League when he was 21. I mean, so did John Del Thomason. I mean, to be fair, it looks like he's gonna get himself a cheap move to Juventus. But honestly, Chelsea, is it just me who thinks it would make far more sense to buy a 28-year-old Depay than a middle-aged Aubameyang? And I know 33 is not middle-aged, but have you seen how fast he drives? I don't think he's gonna see 70. Chelsea are a club who should have done everything, and I mean everything, to buy Gabriel Jesus this summer. Offer him Lukaku's £300,000 a week salary, and instead of leaving it until the last minute to hijack the Arsenal deal, they should have been filing a bid to Man City in the last week of May. Big money, Champions League football, that should have been it done. And finally, you might actually have the first striker to work since Diego Costa. But an old Aubameyang. I can't help but feel that if I was a Chelsea fan, that would be like being set up on a date with your cousin and the one who smells like infected frogs. But on the other hand, see how I'm arguing with myself? Because this isn't the first time that Chelsea have signed an ex-Arsenal centre forward in his 30s. I mean, don't forget, back in January 2018, Arsene Wenger was sick of Olivier Giroud. Almost visibly sick. Like after eating 3 tubs of ice cream in one sitting. I mean, clearly 5.5 years of picking Giroud up front was enough. And so I'm sure the sight of mega-rich Chelsea caught digging through Arsenal's bins was probably enough to cause their own fans to rip off their own adult acne with a fork. But lads, to be fair, that was the same month you were weighing up bids for Peter Crouch, Andy Carroll and Ashley Barnes. I mean, no wonder Antonio Conte wanted out after being given that sort of shopping list. I mean, this was Chelsea Football Club. I mean, it's like telling someone like Beyonce Knowles that she has to eat nothing but peanuts, flowers, and barbecue donkey nipples for lunch. I mean, honestly, if she ever went in the I'm a Celebrity jungle, within 20 minutes, she'd probably stab the producers in the eye. But the supposedly underwhelming Giroud, 39 goals, 14 assists, 3 trophies, and the club's 2021 goal of the season. He was an Arsenal cast-off who joined Stamford Bridge age 32. So honestly, I know buying second-hand rubbish from the Gunners might slap the ego of Chelsea fans in the face, but it has worked before. But to me, when I look at this deal, I don't think of Giroud. To me, this just seems like if Chelsea bought Robin van Persie after the 2014 World Cup. You know, when he was old, past it, and not very good anymore. I mean, they talk about Aubameyang's attitude, but I'm sorry, there was no real social media at the time. Well, can you imagine what the uproar must have been when Chelsea bought Nicolas Anelka in January 2008? Yes, another ex-Arsenal centre-forward. I mean, you think Aubameyang is trouble. Anelka was one of the most moody, egocentric, and disruptive strikers in the world. I mean, that was his image anyway. He was like football's answer to Kanye West. You never knew what he was gonna do. I mean, there was a reason he spent his peak years at Fenerbahce, Bolton, and Man City when they were poor. I mean, there was a reason why in his mid-20s, he was taking phone calls from Graham Souness and Sam Allardyce. I mean, the media paints this guy out to be football's answer to James Corden. You know, someone who probably spits at homeless people in the street, right? I mean, his name was Le Sulk. I mean, honestly, with footballing ability, the man was a world superstar, but I mean, by all rights, someone like Fogdad should not have been able to buy a season ticket where he could watch a 27-year-old Anelka play for his local club just a few miles up the road from Wigan. And so when Chelsea agreed to buy him, oh, I'm sure the fans reacted as if the club chairman had just agreed to swallow a grenade. But I mean, yeah, okay, I know within 12 weeks, he was missing a penalty that cost him the Champions League, but I mean, he went on to score nearly 60 Chelsea goals and outscored Cristiano Ronaldo to win the Premier League Golden Boot. I mean, they say Aubameyang is a bad egg, but is he really? I mean, what's he actually done? All of his teammates seem to like him. I mean, there's a man of both Jurgen Klopp and Thomas Tuchel have nothing but good things to say. And lads, they're Champions League winning managers. I mean, sure, Arteta doesn't like him, but let's be real. Yeah, he's a promising young coach, yes. But I mean, he's not even 40 yet. But where it doesn't make sense is that Aubameyang, his last 2 seasons at Arsenal, he was just an anonymous teapot stuffed up front. And I should know, I had him in my fantasy football team. Ever since that FA Cup final win over Chelsea in 2020. Ever since he dropped the cup. I mean, he just stopped. Since that match, he just scored 20 goals in his last 60 games for the club. That version of Aubameyang, that would make you stifle sick in your throat. But the re-energized one who moved to Barcelona, I mean, he has been electric. I mean, go back to January and there were reports hinting at a supposed heart problem where he was now gonna have to retire. I mean, he was supposed to replace Sergio Aguero at the new camp, not joining him to drink beer and eat burgers on the beach. But to be fair, those rumors were nonsense. Then he banged in 13 goals in 23 matches, so there is still a footballer in there. I mean, he's like Emmanuel Adebayor in that he always starts well at every club. I mean, it's like the new transfer excites him. He always makes a great first impression. I mean, on his first La Liga start, he was banging in a hat-trick away at Valencia. He did the exact same thing when he was making his Bundesliga debut for Borussia Dortmund. And he also bagged an early doors hat-trick for Saint Etienne within a month of moving to France. And yeah, 9 goals in his first 11 matches for Barcelona. And for Arsenal, he had 10 Premier League goals in his first 30 matches. So maybe he might score a few when he joins Chelsea. So a short-term deal might make sense. I mean, it's like getting married to someone and agreeing to go no further than the honeymoon. I mean, sure, you get a nice relaxing month in Trinidad and then you just choose to call it quits before marriage ultimately makes you hate each other. I mean, you have to feel sorry for Aubameyang. There's a man who was essentially bought to replace Robert Lewandowski at Borussia Dortmund, and yet now, despite being a Barca superstar last season, Lewandowski's now replacing him. To me, there is one summer transfer which screams out for Aubameyang's signature this summer, and it's not Chelsea. It's AC Milan. This is the most obvious transfer in football. I mean, they're cross-city rivals who are signing Romelu Lukaku this summer, while they, in return, bring in Divock Origi, a 27-year-old striker with less than 50 career goals. I mean, when he's never hit more than 8 league goals in a single season, can we really even call him a professional centre forward? I mean, it's like calling yourself a postman when you've only delivered 7 letters since 2016. Aubameyang was the one AC Milan player of this generation that got away. One of the biggest blunders in the history of the club. Honestly, it cost them a good £80 million. I mean, he would have been the perfect replacement for Zlatan Ibrahimovic in 2012. I mean, the ready-made suitor to fit his shoes after he went to PSG. But instead, Milan just gave him to Saint Etienne for £1.6 million. I mean, nobody rated Aubameyang 10 years ago. I mean, he'd even been on loan at Lille, and they had said no to a permanent deal. and they just signed a Fat Joe Cole instead. I mean, in 2012, apparently Aubameyang was holding out for a move to Aston Villa. So what? Just go and replace Darren Bent? If the Mayans had been right and the world had ended then this guy would have just had the footballing legacy of Aruna Dindan or Daniel Kuzan. I mean, anyone remember him? Honestly, whatever aliens would have come to Earth, they would have said this man wasn't even in the same league as Wilfred Boney. I mean, this career turnaround has been sensational, Pierre. They got rid of Aubameyang to replace him with Mario Balotelli and a washed-up Fernando Torres. I mean, back in 2011, even West Brom were sniffing around him, only to reject the chance to sign him on loan. I mean, to be fair, they did get Romelu Lukaku instead, who ironically, 10 years later, is now about to replace. But am I the only one who would have loved to see a West Brom front three of Peter Odemwingie, Aubameyang and Shane Long? I mean, their raw pace would have caused Premier League defenders to have a panic attack on the pitch. Honestly, they'd have been the most fun team to control on FIFA 2011. I mean, Roy Hodgson might have even got them into Europe. This man is unfinished business at the San Siro, and would have been the perfect addition this summer. But instead, you just choose to persist with a Belgian waffle up front. So to sum it up, I don't know if Aubameyang will be a good Chelsea signing. I mean, if he dares ask for the number 9 shirt, then someone should slap him in the face with a sock. No, that number 9 shirt should be donated to some sort of haunted house museum. Honestly, it's like a ghost artifact. It destroys everything it touches. It's like Mike's answer to the Annabelle doll. Anyway, that's what do you think? Let me know. Is Aubameyang gonna be a success? I have no earthly clue. I don't know. Anyway, listen, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.